guys are ready to go. Ready?
Yep.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to yet another Breeders' Cup show, but this one's really going to be good. Got great content from the Optics team. I got Emily Gullickson. You know her, right? Emily's well known. Hey, Emily,
Yes,
we were just at
yes.
Aqueduct. Emily had some stalkers following her around. That's how popular she is. We had to go. The team had to go to Aqueduct for the final year of Aqueduct. We have Ron Ricciuti, who's a notes taker for us. Chris Larmy, who's also been participating with some of the new work that we're doing in and around analysis and so forth. And in who else we have on the list? That's it, right? Or did I forget? Me, John Doyle.
A couple late scratches, but the main body of the deal
scratches,
is
yeah.
intact.
But we're going to have some fun. We're going to talk about, instead of trying to drill down in every race, which is just a bore in my opinion, we figure we try to take like just different segments, and then we can drill down in that particular area. So one of the things I just want to just talk about the Breeders' Cup in general, being at Del Mar, there's, is there a trend? I mean, what do you guys think about Del Mar as a venue? Is there advantages, disadvantages to, turf course for closers, whatever? Is there anything in particular from a track profile that Del Mar is different than the other tracks, or you can lend some insight into Del Mar as the venue?
Well, one thing I'll say that I think is helpful, at least like with this year in particular, some overlap is that the Breeders' Cup was here last year, so
yes.
You can kind of get a little bit of form that way. And I mean, obviously, the other thing is being at Del Mar, you're unlikely to get a lot of rain and off tracks and wet turf, etc. So that level of consistency with the weather, but there is the ship thing, but for the most part, a lot of these horses have shipped in the past and things like that. But I think having that established form, at least just from last year, I think in some ways that's helpful, those back-to-back years. And with Optics as well, if people have been subscribers in the past, or at least using some of that that history, can go back and look at some of those results and see if there are some notable trends. I don't think there's really, playing Del Mar day in and day out, and now like a few Breeders' Cups, I struggle to find any type of like horse or race that I can sit there and say, well, if this had been at X different track, this horse would have won. Does that make sense?
Yeah, the one thing I noticed about Del Mar though is you can really win from way off the pace on the grass if the pace is good enough, right? Because it really is inclined to finishers. So you look at the statistics too. Squares do very well on the turf at Del Mar. So you want late pace horses. I mean, that's obvious, but I've seen in the past, if the horse has a really good turn of foot on that turf course, especially, it's going to be like perfect. It's going to be like a putting green, right? The horses can really motor, and they could come from way out of it if it's a generous pace. So if you're going to look at, especially if you're going to look at the Americans, when we'll get into the internationals and how they kind of fit, but if you're going to look at the American horses, you want ones that can really finish, to have a turn of a foot, because that's the only chance they have, I think, against some of these Euros, especially these Euros that are coming from, especially some of the racing in Europe in the fall, especially the Arc and stuff, really boggy. And I don't think some of those horses did their best. And I think with some firm ground, especially the ones that are coming over here who are well meant, I think they're going to fire some big shots. So, something to watch. Chris.
I was going to say, to build on that, especially, I think something that's in terms of the closers on the turf that's important is that even in that 5 furlong sprint, closers can do well, which is not a lot of times isn't the case. That 5 furlong sprints a lot of times on the turf really favor the speed, but at Del Mar you can come from off the pace if there's any kind of pace in front of them. So I think that's something to keep in mind.
The only thing with 5 furlongs, I always look that the horse has actually form winning at 5 furlongs. I mean, I think that's such a unique distance that it's important to have that on your resume. It's very rare a horse first time or second time 5, even if it's 5.5 versus 5. I mean, it's just a different race. It's just a totally different race. So
Yeah, and the other thing on the oh, sorry, go ahead, Ron. I was going to say on the Euros when they come in, the one thing I like about the West Coast when they run in the West Coast is that they really know what to expect. Like Emily said, it's going to be firm, and so when they bring the horses over, they're bringing the ones they think will handle that firm ground. And a lot of times you can get some, pretty good form reversals if they haven't liked the going in Europe when they come over here. So, whereas when they go to like Keeneland or Churchill, they never quite know what they're going to get. They're kind of guessing, but they know exactly what the going will be. So I think that helps them bring over the horses that are going to do well when they ship. And then also, I think it's a little bit easier ship for the horses from Japan to go to the West Coast. So that's a small thing that can help, their performance as well.
Okay. Ron, anything on the track profile?
Chris had kind of answered the question I had.
Okay. We're going to get to the Euros. So if it's more Euros, just hold on because we're going to get to them.
Oh, no, just on the 5 furlong turf sprint, I just think, you're going to need to break quickly. And certainly pre-race, you're going to want to be focused, right? You can't be wasting energy in that race. And also, you want to be focused. You want to know what your job is. You don't have a lot of time to change kind of your personality at that point.
I think that is a really good point, and something I want to stress to people, because so many people will say, I don't know what to look for. I don't know what to look for when a horse is pre-race, but there's those obvious things like that you mentioned, the horse wasting a lot of energy. We're good about doing the notes and saying like a horse is warm, so it's like uncharacteristic, but anything that's like they're tough to saddle, things like that. It helps if you have that information ahead of time to know if it's out of character. But I think especially on Breeders' Cup, I can think of like a handful of times where you just look at a horse, even if you know nothing about physicality, and you're just like, this horse is going to run. This horse is going to run big. And they usually do. And those things, you just go off your instinct. It's obviously more practice, but I'm glad that you brought that up. It is so crucial in these races. And just to remind people, like, trust yourself with those visuals.
Cool. Right. So let's go to let's talk about vulnerable favorites, because I think everyone thinks they could beat every horse, but let's just look at them. One thing I do, when I'm playing, I use OptixROD to help me with this, to just see who are going to be the favorites. Just so I'm going to filter on Del Mar. I'm going to start the 31st guys, and then I'm just going to look for morning lines. I'm just, maybe they're not the favorites.
Can we pull that screen up?
Is that coming up?
There we go.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's not cool. Well, yeah, it is. Okay.
Okay. So this is the one before, the day before. So you see the favorites there. I mean, the first race is non-Breeders' Cup race, so we could ignore that. But let me start with Emily. Emily, there's 3 horses here: Precise, Ted Nafi, Gestat. Are any of these horses, do you think, in your opinion, vulnerable? I'm assuming, especially Ted Nafi and Precise are going to be huge favorites.
Yeah, and concerns? I mean, if you know, if you know nothing from nothing, right? You just look at the screen and there's one horse that has 2 red keywords. So I would start there, and that just kind of stands out to me. It's telling you, red means stop, like slow down a little bit. He's had those perfect trips on those most recent starts, and something I probably should go back and add as far as the notes at Keeneland. I was a little bit slow to adopt this, but there's like a subtle hot as well with the Spindthrift runners. They were all live, regardless of who the trainer was during that meet, this horse being one of those horses in that sample. So I don't know if we want to pull up that race, because there's a few things that kind of like stood out to me as far as this horse being a weaker favorite. Now, obviously, I think right off the jump, those red keywords as it's
go to the grid. Let's go to the grid. No.
Yeah. And I had to double check this, because there's like a few things that are just kind of changing around a little bit. But really, in terms of the plot position versus today's race shape, so today's race shape has a sun contention and a 56 speed rate. Now, if we look at it, it's a little bit off, but it's about the same from what I'm looking at. But if we scroll over to the races that Ted Nafi has run so far, in those races, keep going. He's never really had that high speed rate and that sun contention. So it is doing something new. And even in terms of plot position, it is a subtle change. So you have a horse that has had those perfect trips. They're finding a different race dynamic. I wonder if there's I feel like there's one more thing in terms of, maybe it was in terms of race par as well. Is that a little bit lower than what's been in the past? It's the other way of, I don't know, but compared to the figure range, sorry, not par, but figure range.
Oh, figure range.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's high. He's going to face a higher figure range than,
Yeah,
so,
and I mean, he has in the past in the hopeful, but
just so you know, fig range, just for the folks listening, fig range is what we think that is the range it's going to take to win the race in terms of a speed figure.
Yeah. So maybe it's even in terms of the race shapes being, kind of average, slow early, very slow, and a different change in plot position and in terms of that dynamic. There's some things under the radar that aren't as obvious jumping off on paper that just kind of stand out as this horse could certainly win, but they're going to have to overcome some stuff that they haven't done yet after some perfect trips. And from the outside as well. So he's probably going to be wide.
Ron, do you want to talk about anybody? What about Precise? What's your feelings
Well,
on
Precise? I'm obviously concerned about the far outside post.
And she really gets marooned
because
on 13.
Del Mar on that turf mile, I believe. Well, not I. Yeah, and Del Mar at that turf mile, the impact value on 8+ in terms of winners on the posts is, the wide posts are half as likely to win as 1 through 7. That's Briss. I know,
How many, I mean, doing a deeper dive on that analysis, how many of those are favorites versus horses?
Yeah, I don't know. You know. And then well, I shouldn't say that, because then as you go further out, 12 and 13 are really bad. And 14, I think, but I don't know if we'll have 14 maybe in the other race, the male race, the boys.
Here's my opinion of her, and I'll let Chris chime in too. She's quirky.
Yeah.
And you can see it here, right? Gate, like the last few races. She's nice. And I'm not actually worried less by the outside, because I think she can handle I think she likes running on the outside, at least what I've seen. But this gate issues, I mean, even the other thing she does is seems like she kind of hits the front, waits on horses too. So she's a little bit, and you can see some of the green, right? You can see some of that in the notes. So that's my, when you want to take that short of a price on a horse with a deep post, I mean, obviously she towers over the field in terms of class and everything, but she has issues. She's quirky, and she's going to be odds on. And the biggest problem for me is trying to find somebody. I mean, I would look at the other Euros. I mean, just because the one thing I notice is when especially you see this big of a class difference, like the Miss Grillo, it has a class rating. I look at class ratings for the race class rating, the first race, 113.7 as compared to, Precise's 1.7. That's a huge difference, right? So she's winning and running a B+ in a race that's think of it as a grade 1 versus almost like a grade 3. Yeah, it's pretty significant, especially being in Europe, right? Well, it's grade 1 versus grade 2, but I mean, it's even another tier based on just the numbers. Yeah. So I'd be kind of maybe looking for another Euro if I can find one, because it just seems like unless you could find somebody who's really thriving going into the race in the U.S., I think there just seem to be well outclassed.
Well, the one thing that I will say, I mean, obviously the gate issues and the slog, those are concerning things that appear more habit now. And also, you don't love a horse that has racing to be green and green back to back. But the thing that I wonder, I think I watched the last race, is that the way that those courses are configured, not so much the footing, but I wonder if some of that changes when she's able to get around 2 turns and in left-handed where she can stay on that right lead, right? Because that's like what a lot of what she was doing when she was leaning around horses is that she was like on her right lead going straight and then would flip, and I just wonder if like that balance is a little bit different. But again, that is maybe not. Maybe that works good for her.
Yeah.
Maybe it doesn't. But
Yeah,
a
maybe.
different course configuration might kind of sort some of that out.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
last year you had Lake Victoria, right? Who kind of, now we're talking about the similar kind of thing, like this super horse, but there were really no knocks against Lake Victoria, and then she went out and did the job. This
She
one,
was also one of those horses that, like we mentioned earlier, that just stood out pre-race.
Oh,
like you're like, this horse is a woman above puppies, like not even on the same level.
True that. Yeah. So I mean, that's the big part about her, right? If you're going to take that price, make sure that you know everything about her going in, right? I mean, up to when they load, if you can.
Yeah.
Well, you're not a CAW, but if you can, yes.
Yeah, I think the post is a really big issue with that horse. You just don't win from that post. It's just very tough, and they don't. A big thing to keep in mind with all the O'Brien horses is that he doesn't have Ryan Moore to ride this year. That's a big difference, I think, especially in this.
Yeah, he's slumming
pace.
with some.
This one might not be a problem.
Yeah, but still, he doesn't have the same
Yeah,
kind of experience and success riding in the U.S. that Ryan Moore does. And I think you're going to need a perfect ride to win with this horse. And at short price, I'm definitely against it. Whereas if it had drawn well, I probably
Wait, Gold
would have.
Takova, right? Gold Takova?
I know,
Who's
but
Gold?
I feel like I could have run Gold Takova.
No, you're just talking about the jockey. That's all.
You could have. Just hold on.
Yeah.
I never forget that first one where she was like, you couldn't even see her, and then all of a sudden she was like a knife through butter.
Yeah,
I mean, the thing about all like these comments, like Ryan Moore is another one that's just, he's on a different level. He's so good. Like the 13 post, you would be like, Ryan Moore, he'll figure it out. I don't know how, but he'll do it.
Yeah, he'd have it right off the pace. I bet you he'd have it right off the pace.
But the point I really want to get to is these are two things that like the public is already going to be super obviously aware of. Like we're not saying anything right now that like a million other podcasts are saying about this horse. If we can find
wait, I disagree. On the terms of the post, yes. But not on the terms of, I don't think, the way she's run. Because I think you could look at those runs and say, well, they really weren't. I mean, she did run a B+. It was impressive what she did.
Yes. No, I'm saying that is good information. But as far as like the post and everyone knows Ryan Moore, I don't think that's saying anything that's, unique information.
That's not,
every
like I
other
said, that wasn't what
what
bothered me more was her quirkiness. That's what bothers me more than anything. All right, let's go to the big day, see if there's anything else. But again, people who are using this for the first time, it's an easy way to kind of get an assessment of the favorites quickly. I'm going to go to the next day.
I would just say though the same thing with Stott.
Okay. I'm sorry.
That horse threw extreme outside post, doesn't have Ryan Moore, and I think he was less of a standout than. It wasn't as good as Precise, although that field's pretty weak. So.
Yeah,
it's going to take a really good ride to win that, and he'll be a short price as well.
Yeah, that's not as good of a horse, I think.
Yeah,
I agree with that. So let's go to. Okay, any of these bothering anybody? I know we've gotten some recent information on sovereignty, so
I would fade every single one of those. That's my opinion. I don't think any of them are strong.
Agree.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I don't know about. I won't have any of those horses.
Special One is the
tickets.
other. Yeah, I agree with you. Anybody have anything to add about that? Anybody want to say why?
Well, which race do we want to start with?
Well, let's start with the shortest price horse, Sovereignty, the biggest race.
Well, let's not talk about him though, because if he doesn't run, let's not waste our time.
Okay. Let's talk about
He's
Baffert's horse.
He's spiking a fever. And
Let's talk about Baffert's horse.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about this. What do you think, Emily?
I'm looking at this race for the very first time right now.
Okay.
So I will tell you.
All right, we'll get to see the wheels turn in Emily's head as she evaluates the information.
I mean, the big concern is like, where's this horse been? Like, what happened? Right? Missed the Pacific Classic. Then I thought he was going to run before again, and then he was just kind of absent. He's been absent for a lot of time.
Yeah.
Before
He's got a history of that, right? And it's a plan B or a plan C. It's definitely the kind of horse you want to fade, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that's the layoff lines kind of tell you that. But as an individual, I mean, is he going to be that heavy of a favorite? I don't know. I don't think so.
What's his morning line?
Figure around
1.6, 8 to 5.
Yeah.
Just being Delmar, probably.
I mean,
probably around that.
Mystic Dan's going to get action. The other horses that have name recognition, Full Serrano won this race last year. He's got big speed figures coming in. Wide Barrio.
How do you feel about him being under the line, under the par line here, on the plot? Nice.
Well, I don't like. What is he? What is he? I mean, like Baffert. What really confused me was, I remember, I don't know if it was the San Diego or after the Triple Bend. He's like, I'm going to stretch this horse out. Like this horse he was thinking this horse is a 10 furlong horse, and I was like, really? Like I was surprised. So I was like, wow, this horse must be really good. I was thinking. So I was dying for this horse to run in the Pacific Classic. I'm like, this horse is going to win the Pacific Classic. If he's pointing to this race, he thinks this horse is, I guess, has 10 furlong.
I think the fatal flaw in that is listening to Baffert in an interview and taking those words as gospel.
No, he didn't say that, but it was just kind of his way he's feeling. I mean, like it wasn't like he was like that. It's just, like when you read between the lines. I was reading between the lines. I don't take person's word for anything. Not even the team here. But no, that's not true. The team here, I think they were. But what I'm saying? I just kind of feel that this horse, and it, just the way he ran, I was like, maybe this horse does have, maybe this horse can get a distance. And then the San Diego, that's a good race. That's a good race. So he's building on that, and then all of a sudden it's like he gets scratched and then he doesn't show up, and it's like, what happened to this horse? And now he's in for the mile. It's like, if he's really that good, wouldn't he be in? Take a shot at the Classic?
Oh, absolutely. He's got some talent, but I mean, you're probably not going to get his A game for sure.
They're probably just trying to get the easiest grade 1 they can possibly get in. And yeah, I mean, these are all, it's all valid concerns. But if you look at him, he's fast enough. He's B pluses. I mean, the form.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's impeccable. It just doesn't, but and just seems to be ouchy, I guess, or whatever it is, because with all those layoffs. I mean, look at these two.
Yeah, with that
28, 98, 56, 76.
With that,
to your question, being below the par line, he kind of had a similar position back in the San Diego.
Yeah, because the problem with him is, half of his races were at the age of 2 and early 3, so it's hard. Right. Like he's still developing, so you're taking a kind of an average.
And they're one-turn races as well.
Yeah, one-turn races, so it's a hard read. Yeah. So
I mean, Mystic Dan is the one that's even more questionable. Like, why isn't that horse in the Classic? I'm sorry.
Well, because I know he has no chance in the Classic, I think. Yeah.
Right, but I mean, that's even more of a negative. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
view this horse. I know it's going to be. I don't want to.
Why is it White in the Classic?
The most opportune horse ever.
Yeah, he's had some. Talk about perfect trips. He's had like a perfect trip in his wins.
I mean, the other Baffert interests me just because he's kind of young,
Agreed.
developing horse, right? I mean, that's the one that I like. I think this is kind of the right race for him, right? We have shorter, I just think this is where he's probably right in his wheelhouse. To me, that's the play. I mean, based on just not odds, but based on just where these other horses seem like they've done the interesting horse. And I don't know if we want to talk about this horse now or when we get to the foreign horses.
Let's talk about this horse now.
This horse is, I would have A- on every one of these horses' grades if I knew who he was running against, because this horse is so freaking fast. And then he just but he's not even using the horse. I mean, and then he just he'll ask the horse in the stretch and the horse just takes off. I mean, this horse is, again, I don't know who he's running against, but ultra impressive.
So he's not a front runner, or he is a front runner?
Oh, he's a speedball. He's absolute.
But he gets the lead.
I know, but the thing is that you guys know that, but I'm looking at the notes and all I see is, well, the second note says close and it's sprinting, but I see close, and I don't know that he's been on the lead as well.
He's been on the lead in every race. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you can kind of control pace, right? If you look at the extended notes, controls pace, poured it on without much. This horse he was pressed in this race, so he's on the lead, right? So the notes are there. So he just gets to the lead so easily, and he takes, and he's not even at how horses kind of have to fight for the lead. Even when he was getting pressed, he wasn't even breathing heavy. And then he has just this turn of foot at the end of the race that he separates. And the announcer goes crazy. The announcer in Spanish. Oh, no, no.
Yeah, those South American announcers are the best. They completely lose it in the stretch.
But this horse, you feel it. You almost feel like he is. He's as he's yelling and screaming, the horses keep separating, it keeps accelerating.
But that's important. And a lot of people will not realize that he is going to be setting a fast pace in this race. So, that's not going to be obvious in the form to people. So that's a little bit of an edge you can, listeners can take. Not exactly sure how you're going to use that in this context, but that's something really important to keep in mind is this horse is lightning fast. The one thing I think he has a lot of talent and upside. The problem with him is he's a South American 3-year-old, which means he's kind of a baby in this field, right? And he probably wasn't beaten much. So I don't know how fast he is. If you could make speed figures for what he ran, how fast they would have been and how they'd stack up. He might need to develop some more before he can compete at the highest level, but this horse has talent for sure.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that.
I almost would have, I guess did he qualify for this as a win and you're in when he won that race? Was that how he got in?
If he didn't, then this is he's more enticing, right?
So
yeah, it's kind of weird they put him in this race, but I think it's because it was a win and you're in.
So then in this case, can we go back to the plot real quick? So if we're projecting that he's part of the early pace.
Yeah, I'd be shocked if he's not setting the pace.
Yeah.
All right. So now that six of more than half of the field is above that par line. Does that help? Does that help horses? Number one, Will Take It, Nisos, Chancer and Patrick, and White Barrio?
I think so.
So it should set up for one of those runners, right?
Yeah, I think for me, the horse. If it's going to be like a fast pace, right? So there's horses that it's weird, right? Because you got horses that can handle a fast pace and press a fast pace and stay on, even if they're not gaining. If the other horse is fading, they're not fading as much. Does that make sense? So you got those kinds. So what I always do is I go into the grid and I look at fast horses that have competed in fast paced races and see how they did. Maybe we could do that. But the horse to me is a legitimate closer in this race would be the 8. That's legitimate. But I don't know if he's more one-turn closer.
Yeah.
But he's the horse that I would think would benefit the most because these other horses are not. That's not really their style. Like White Barrio is not really a closer.
The eight, looking at the grid, kind of looks like a 2-turn closer because
Okay.
he
Let's
has
go to
those.
grid.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's just plug in. Let me just play with me here for a little bit.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this let's assume it's a fast pace, right?
Okay.
Let's go make it a dirt race. Okay.
I like
Well,
this
let's leave-
because I think this is something that you can do with this tool, and we're working off some information that's not in the PPs that most people see. So this is the kind of stuff you want to work with.
So what I could do is like go by finish, or I can just like see who runs
Go
the
by
best.
B. By B.
By grade.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So this shows you. Well, let's take 10 furlongs out. Let's make it 8 point. Okay. Even.
Oh,
B.
No, that's a little
I
too
guess there's
narrow.
no. Okay. All right. Look at a 5.
yeah, but I mean,
Who's he running against, right?
yeah. That
Uh,
Gulfstream race is 1 turn. That Churchill race is 1 turn.
Yeah.
So his
Well,
1 turn race is at
Let's
Ellis Park.
let's just take the 10 furlong out. Okay. Still.
Yeah, I know John and I have never agreed on this horse. I think Barrios looks really strong in this race. I think he's going to get a good trip, and he's the fastest horse on his best. But
I think he's benefited from a lot of trips too. He's another trip horse, in my opinion. He's good. Don't get me. At some point, you start saying a horse that can get trip all the time must be good because he can get the trip, puts himself in the position to win. But all right, well, this tells me absolutely nothing.
Yeah, but I mean, if we look at the initial thing we're going to look at was that 8, right?
Yeah.
Because he only has he's got select 1 turn races. There's only 4 of them.
So he's got this race. He finished poorly in. This
Yeah, but
race,
look at the race. But look at the race shape. Slow.
Very slow.
Yeah, exactly. So those 2 are
Fast, very fast. That he didn't do too well in that one, but maybe 9
He was
furlongs.
also maybe.
so Emily, what was it that you thought made him look like a 2-turn horse? Because I've always thought he was a 1-turn horse. What was it you said? You said there was a reason why you thought he looked like he could be a 2-turn horse.
Because of those races that were early, early on. I mean, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, he had that race didn't set up for him. Like, people that bet him at a short price, they lost their ass. Even at ahead of time, when we had talked about that race, it just wasn't going to set up for his run. Clearly, it did not. The pace setter set moderate pace, finished 1-2. That's what the extended comment says. They went slow early, slow late. He also had the layoff that followed. I don't, maybe Ron can really describe the layoff return race and the extended comment, but that one was also, very slow early. Just kind of seemed like a weird race that you would just take with a grain of salt. And then as far as the Keeneland race, the winner came from off the pace in there. The number was okay. His numbers, and the numbers that he's run this year, going back to that Tampa race, every race is getting faster. And then you have the 9 furlong race that just said is a B and it's shorter. I know it's not class or whatever, but he's got an X flow. I don't know.
He's run 99 as a 2-year-old, right?
Race, it's this spot. If he's
to your point, Emily, he's run 99. Let's just look at speed figures for a second here instead of. He's run 99 in 2-year-old races. So maybe you're right. Maybe he is projecting a forward move after his last race. He was against the flow last time, 1 turn.
There'll be a price. I think if they ride him really cold and let him make 1 run, it wouldn't shock me.
Yeah.
But I'm not
it's
sure
an interesting race.
Horse,
if we go back to the plot real quick, if I'm looking at the 8 and the 10 are side by side, and I know White Barrio, he's not showing us anything new today. The 8 possibly shows us something new. So he's going to be
The eight
I don't know,
has
three-four
potentially more
times the
upside.
price.
Eight,
Yeah.
eight has potentially more upside.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's interesting race. That might be a value play or something.
Yeah, I think it's interesting just because of that South American horse.
Yeah, it changes the race.
You know,
plan.
it's something most people aren't going to be aware of what that horse is and how he will impact the race. And I think he has a lot of talent. I mean, it wouldn't totally shock me if he just wired the field, but you know, it would be like a 3-year-old in May, you know, beating all the older horses at the end of, you know, that he's really immature.
Yeah.
From a physical standpoint.
Yeah, he's got some.
He has to be
something-
really,
some-
really good to win.
He's got some things to overcome.
Yeah.
It's just fun to watch. You know, it's one of these things that's fun to watch.
Yeah,
Okay,
and
let's-
if you want to have fun, listen to the
He's a mystery
announcers on
train.
those
Yeah,
replays.
go watch the
Mystery
replay.
Train 2. Mystery Train 2. That's what I'm going to call him.
All right, let's go to long shots. I mean, like horses you think are going to kind of run under the radar. I'm going to start with Ron Bow here. Ron, what do you think? Any long shots for us?
I do. I have a lot of them. Which
All right,
Yeah.
well,
which races do you want to start at?
just give me your best. Give me your best one.
Dealer's choice.
Okay. I think. Oh, okay. So you know what? I have them in order almost in terms.
Just
of
give me
race.
the day and the race.
Yeah. So we'll start on Friday, and then that Breeders' Cup Sprint. You know, the Juvenile Turf Sprint. You know, I think the favorite's okay there. Obviously, True Love.
Which
But
race is that, Ron?
the
Fifth?
Juvenile
Six.
Turf Sprint.
Six.
Yeah.
Six.
Sixth?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just go through. You down. And in that one, I like Lenny Lou and Havana Anna. You know, I think that Lenny Lou didn't perform badly overseas, and now they have to deal with her here. So I like her, and then Havana Anna a little bit under the radar, and I think she has some room to move forward. Again, nothing wrong with the favorites there.
Well,
Just
who? I'm sorry. What was the first one again? You said
Lenny Lou.
12.
12. Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Okay, and then
Oh,
in,
yeah, you go with the U.S. one. Okay, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you know, what you're going to see too. I think when I go, I have some stats on the EU runners in these different races. So we'll just wait a minute. But
They've been pretty strong in this race lately. I know that.
no, not the last 10 years.
The Juvenile Turf Sprint.
Oh, there's Juvenile. This is sprint though. Yeah.
Yeah, they've been pretty good.
No,
in the
no,
I
no,
think they've
they're
been run
really
two the
good.
last 3 years or so.
Oh, really? I thought the
Yeah.
last turf sprint. Oh, that's the turf sprint.
Yeah.
I didn't do the Juvenile because that's kind of a new entry. It hasn't been around 10 years actually.
Yeah.
Who,
John? I just wanted to make sure because I'm covering those other races on Friday, the turf races, the Juvenile. Is somebody have the Juvenile Turf Sprint? Is that Donald or?
I probably.
Okay.
Don't
Just let
worry
me
about
know if you need me to. Yeah.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Okay.
I'm with you on that. The two inside runners, I think, are probably European threat. I saw that Brussels horse earlier. He looks like a freaking tank. That thing is like 5 furlong.
Yeah, and I think Sumion's going there rather than the other kind of. The third charge for him in that race, O'Brien.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other ones, Ron?
Yeah. So then in
Overall.
the Juvenile Fillies turf, if we want to play against Precise, I think Ultimate Love and Queen of Hawaii.
Okay.
Now, Ultimate Love, it looks bad class-wise on paper, right? Not bad, but it looks like she really needs to up the game. But she is beating all those fields exactly as she should. And she does it easily. She looks professional. I like that one.
Yeah.
She gets a rail. That's
Yeah, I think that helps as well.
No shot.
Okay.
Oh, threw down the gauntlet.
All right. You've done that before. No problem.
But I
And
think
then
that's,
the Joseph O'Brien horse. I think JOB here has something up his sleeve with this one.
Which
She looks
number is
like
that?
she definitely can move forward. The Queen of Hawaii, the one next to
Queen of
Ultimate
Love.
Love on the inside. Actually, all three of those on the inside, I think, are good alternatives to the Beast Precise.
All right, I need somebody else. What do you got, Chris?
He wants real long shots.
Well, I'll tell you who I'm the most interested in playing Do you want me to go in order or just jump around?
Just give me one.
No,
right?
go to a long shot. Go to the long shot special.
Oh, the long shot. Okay.
Yeah. Not like your safety blanket horse.
Okay. All right. I'll give. Give me what odds constitute long shot. How high?
10 to 1 above. 10 to 1 and above.
All right. I'll give a horse that I think most people just pass over, but I think has a chance at a big price, and that's in the sprint, the 2 Banishing. Doesn't ever get any respect. The horse just runs his eyeballs out every time. And I think there's plenty of speed in the race. And Copian drew the rail, and 6 furlongs I don't think is really her game. And they're all going to take money, all the ones from last year. And Banishing could be 15 or 20 to 1. I don't think he's a super horse or anything. I just think he's capable of winning. He's fast enough, and he usually runs his race. And he might get a good setup. He could get a pocket trip, and if he gets a seam, he might win it. So that's one I'll throw out. I have a whole bunch of long shots I like, but
wait, let me just. What's the number on that? Please give me the number when you tell me.
2.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's a 2.
And Mulligan along with him as well.
Mulligan's got some question marks, but he's definitely a long shot to include.
Okay.
They're pointing this horse to the race. His most recent workouts are like they're as good as they can be. He's sitting on a big effort, and he's really. I think one of the weird things about this race is like finding a 6 furlong horse. Like they're few and far between, right? Yeah, I mean, even you mentioned Banishing, and Copian's in this race, which is weird because she's never run 6 furlongs before, and the reason she's in this race is because the Tamra horse is in the other race, and the owner wants to split, whatever. But yeah, see, that's like you start to filter, and then you look at those races. It's like there's no real 6 furlong. Obviously, the 8, who's been in this race before, but like the 8, the 11, the 10 looks a little bit weakish to me. But I even like the 9. I thought those notes on the 9 were good. American Stage, that they're second off, that this horse is a sprinter, and I would definitely use that horse in here as well. And even I guess if I'm talking about like the 10, I don't know if that horse is going to be favored in here or not, but like that horse ran in this race last year. He was 28 to 1. He had like the exact same form as he has this year. So I don't know, like 5 to 2, that just seems a little weak. And he had a fine trip, like, and he's only
had one race this year, That's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. He's just it's not a horse at a short price. So I don't know if they end up landing on somebody else in here, but that's just kind of like no value right off the jump. But even looking at like the plot, and if the 1 turns out to be the favorite, which maybe she is. Because she's kind of got like a hype train. I know that was like part of the notes too, like a horse that was like gonna get name recognition. Like on the plot, she looks the same as her stablemate. The 5 is just going to be as big of a price, and the same thing with the 8, who's like in that same spot, who at least has proven form. So I don't really know where.
So what I'm hearing though is like you all kind of think that this race is ripe for a price horse. So
yeah.
This is a race you want to take a shot at. I would guess the spread, at least if you're playing multiple, or if you're just playing vertical, you want to kind of key on some long shot you have a strong opinion of.
Yeah, and I agree totally on Mulligan. I'm just afraid he might not be 15 to 1. If it wasn't for Bookham Dano, he'd be the favorite in here probably. He would have won about 2 or 3 Grade 1 races coming into this, and he'd probably be the favorite. So I definitely like him. I don't think he drew the best, being right in between Ben Tornado and Straight No Chaser. So that, I mean, he could get pinched off right out of the gate there, but we'll see. I mean, I think it would have been better if he could have been outside those 2, but no big deal. And I think one of you, was it you, Emily, the Big City Lights, the other horse for Mandela. that horse isn't impossible in here either. I agree with you.
Well,
you
I'm
know.
just saying if you're looking at the plot and you like the 1, you have to like the 5.
Yeah, and the horse
I
is
mean,
coming
right?
off a lay.
Like,
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
What's going on?
absolutely.
He's coming off a layoff, so he'll get ignored. But Mandela's great off the layoff with these sprinters, so that doesn't, and he has upside. So
Oh,
he's
by the way,
interesting.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Chris, but by the way, if you're using Optix and new feature, thank you, Peter. So if you want to, like, you have an AE horse, if you want to hide him from the plot, you just click that and you see the number 15 goes away. That he wasn't significant, but it will change the plot if need be. If you
And it also changes the contention and the speed rate. That is very good. Very good.
Yeah, that was a great addition, especially when you have the AEs or MTOs, things like that.
or a late scratch, where we
Yeah.
don't pick up the scratch right away. Thank you, Peter. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
And okay, so any others, Chris?
Oh yeah, I have a whole bunch. Let me give you one that I really like. Is
Okay.
it's in the 8th race, the
On which
turf
day?
on the 2nd day. It's the Breeders' Cup Turf. Everyone sees it as a 2-horse race between Rebels Romance and Mini Hawk.
No
But
way.
I really like the 2-horse Goliath.
Okay.
There's a little bit of a karma thing. I was in Europe most of this month, and I spent time in Germany, and I actually went to the races at Baden-Baden, and that was where he ran his last race and won. That's not why I like him. It's just
I was going to say you need to stick to facts here, Chris.
He's a German
I'm
bred.
not a sentimental
But
lover in this case.
the reason I like it is last year he destroyed a Grade 1 field that included Rebels Romance, just trounced them. And then they decided, that I think he got bought by Jon Stewart or something, and they took him to Hong Kong and Japan, and it didn't work out very well. They gave him time off, and he seems like he's rounded back into form. And if he runs back to that race, he definitely wins this, I think. I mean, that was an awesome run. If you watch the replay, he just crushed them. And, he gets a good post, and he has a good rider. And I'd love to see them just tuck in behind Buick on Rebels Romance and then just follow him and then try to outfinish him. But
the thing I will say is if you haven't watched him in the morning, he has, I forget what the term is, but on his left hind, he
stomps his leg every step. Yeah, he stomps.
Yeah, while he's walking, but that's like it's normal. So if you're seeing that, like don't freak out.
Yeah, and the paddock.
I agree with you.
He's got a crip walk.
Yeah, exactly.
I agree
He
with
does,
your assessment
absolutely.
of this race. And I don't have a problem with Goliath, but I like the 3 better, Emelot.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that one too.
3 to
like
the hoop. Let's go.
Yeah, I like those too in this race. I think.
Yeah, I think you're dead on. I think. But by the way, Mini Hawk was one of my downplays. Mini Hawk. I don't know how you say that. Hawk.
Mini Hawk Tua.
Yeah. And so I'm so that's a good race, I think. That's what we should do, Chris. When we can wrap it up with the betting, we should come back maybe to this race. This might be a good
race. This would be one I want to build some bets around because I like those the same 2 horses that those 2 and the 3.
Let's do that. Yeah, we'll do that. Okay. So Emily, what about you? What do you have for us? I know we're going to get something interesting here.
I sent you the Filly and Mare sprint. Do you want me to talk about that?
Sure, that's a good one.
Did you read what I wrote?
Of course I did.
Okay.
Yeah, let me.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things going on. Maybe.
Please tell me. I know.
I'll get around to it when I get around to it. Type thing.
Well, I want to hear what you have to say on this one because I have an opinion in here too. So.
Ooh, okay.
I lost it. Oh, it's race 4. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, this is a race that I talked about earlier with Copian and Tamara, like them splitting up, and I think that's just going to be more reason for people to land on Tamara in here. Especially knowing like all the commentators in California, because they're probably just gonna like keep saying that over and over again. so we'll see. I mean, I'll talk about Sweet Azteca too, but I think Tamara just kind of has like, if you look at her, you're like, okay, it makes sense. He got the prep, got the big race, but that field was like, those horses were running like upper 70s, lower 80s. This is like a completely different monster. And she's a good horse. She could handle the step up, but in that case, you would still want some price compensation. And looking at the plot, she doesn't have a pace advantage at this point, so really no edge. And kind of on the same. Someone on the same note, as far as like Sweet Azteca, you know, she's fine as well, but there's no real strong edge. How do I pull up my notes? All right. There's no super strong edge for her in this spot, I thought. As far as taking a short price and coming in off the back-to-back, the OptixGRIDs as well. Even though those are wins, she's going to have to find that change in race shape with today's fire contention and 44 speed rate, which is a little bit different than what she's had in the past. And as you could kind of see on the plot there, with Hope Road in this race. So that's just right off the bat, just a couple strikes against two horses at shorter prices. Baffert does have 3 horses in here. Hope Road is that square in quadrant 1. And then Dora the Splendora is the 2, which is the other. It's kind of a weird position square. Not really sure if she's quadrant 3 or quadrant 4, which is not always the best. And she has a lot of bred keywords. So the horse that was kind of interesting to me is the 9, Ricci. Another one that's kind of got a change in plot position, but a lot of that has to do with the races that she's coming out of. She's coming out of those route races. If we look at the grid, she has shorter projected back in March.
Let me get to the grid, folks.
Okay. Kind of jump around a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. So, she had, you know, obviously there was like intent to run in the circuit for whatever reason, couple layoff lines, ran a good race, sprinting, a B against the flow to win. So some class there. And then even in the Santa Monica ran a good number. And then they stretched out in the Beholder Mile, and we have that pressed shorter. She hasn't been at shorter since that race, and she's third off right now. The numbers really haven't been bad since. They actually, you know, they fit on par. They're pretty strong. She's been in the money in all those races. The last race, not a lot of excuse as far as trip, but there was also that other in the keyword. I forget what that was. Baffert sending out 3 of the 5. So the cutback in distance, key, the workouts are good. And then the other thing that I found kind of curious in here was this, the rider change with Luis Saez. So it's like a 9-horse, there's like a 9-horse sample when just kind of looking at this pattern with Baffert runners, not just like a straight up jockey trainer combination, but like horses that kind of fit this parameter, those 9 horses. It's 56% winners, 89% in the money. Only 1 horse ran out. There's technically 2, but 1 went wrong, so I didn't include that horse in the sample. 42-cent ROI. 52-cent ROI. So that just shows there's a lot of intent in here, and from the plot, you can definitely make the case for her. So she fits on numbers, fits on plot, fits with intent. I think probably even gets overlooked despite having recent finishing positions that fit. So I thought she was kind of like a good solid contender in here.
What's her odds? 5-1?
Yeah.
All that for 5-1?
But there's going to be like 2 heavy favorites. And I think that she might drift up, to be honest.
What about the 3, guys? Anybody like the 3?
The 3 is just mid. She's average.
She
Yeah.
does not run very well outside Kentucky. I think
And
I
even
fade her every time, and it's never failed me before.
And
She's
even
not
in
the
those
same one.
Kentucky races, they're just like it's like a lower class. She's like a fine to run, run in the money or whatever. But
And then what about the Japanese horse? Because this horse, I mean,
yeah, that's a use. That's a use as well, with just off those notes, shorter.
yeah, she's got this high head carriage. She kind of like she moves to the lead, then like midway through the race, and then she kind of like comes back to the field, makes like a move and kind of like clears off, and then comes back to the field. So maybe this is kind of the right distance for her.
I don't know about it as a win, but as to hit the board, that trainer has had a long
Why
shot.
would you not? Why would you not play that horse to win at like $1,000,000 to 1?
Well, if it was $1,000,000 to 1, I probably would.
Exactly.
She's a little shy of $1 million, but 30 to 1 is pretty good. It's pretty close.
Yeah.
You talked me onto that at $1,000,000 to 1 for sure.
So then the other.
It's just for me with the Japanese horses. It's just they run those big fields. They run these big fields. You don't really know who they're running against, and then you got the sand trap. I mean
Right.
They look like they're running on the beach.
The dust storm.
The kickback is brutal. Yeah.
Oh,
brutal kickback.
She hasn't been experienced that because she kind of like makes a move to the lead early. But some of those horses, my God, poor horses.
Yeah. You see all the riders wear the windshields,
Yeah, it's crazy.
The other horse that is like a crazy long shot in here, if you're looking at the plot, you would never get to this horse, is the one Zeitlos. So when I looked at all the horses that had run in today's type of race dynamic, she's actually run well in that type of dynamic. And now when we look at, with today's contention and speed rate, and then when you look over to the Optix, like the class plot thing.
This?
To the right, like on the past 3 run lines.
Oh, okay. Where am I looking? This?
She's above. She's got a green. She's got a green above. Class above.
Oh, here. Yeah. Okay. Now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, all right. So that's two things that are kind of crazy on this horse. And then the other thing is she's getting a rider change today as well. With Joel Rosario getting aboard. Joel Rosario has been on her 3 times. All 3 times are wins. And her form isn't like that bad. I know it looks terrible in the plot, but I think the plot is, the plot in this case could be taking a lot of those route races and the, I don't know. Either way, this type of race shape, she's run well in the past. So.
Okay. Well, that's a long shot. That's a long shot. What else you got?
Yep. That's,
yeah.
Yeah.
You want me to tell you a long shot that
Yep.
It's going to win?
Yep.
Okay. We're going to go to, I guess it's the Distaff. So I know Emily will give me some hell on this one because she's usually good with the Distaff. Scylla. I mean, Scylla has got a great run style. I think. I think she was really close. That race was crazy. The last race in Keeneland, right? You can see. Let me go to the grid. I mean, I can't believe this horse will be 15 to 1, but I think she will. I mean, so the Spinster. That was the race that Torpedo Anna just ended her career on, right? She was trying to stay up. This pace was crazy fast. And the thing is everyone kind of stayed around except for Torpedo Anna. They all kind of stayed. But I thought she kind of get off a little slow. A little bit of a rush. I agree. And then she was in the pocket. But it was a fierce pace. I think the other 2 horses just ran way over their heads. They're back in this race, and I think that race is going to take something out of her. I think she's going to build on this race. She's so freaking consistent. I think she gets more of an off-the-pace kind of trip than she had in the because I think that's what she likes to run, a little bit more off the pace. I think all that race did in Keeneland really helped her with some fitness, and I think she's going to be a horse that's going to win the race. I mean, because she's going to be 1 or 2, in my opinion, at a good price. I mean, that's all she does. She never runs a bad race.
That was I really like her too. I'm with you. And She had a really nice workout. She was one of them I saw on the day they. And this was Bill Mott, and this was this week. So he's just sending her out for a maintenance work. She followed Sovereignty, who went around like in 49 and change, and she was just effortless, and she went 46 and change. And I think the rider came back like totally shocked that she had been going that fast. She did it all on her own without being asked.
Yeah, look at
I
those
think
last two
she's
works.
really sharp. I think
Yeah,
she's
look at
really
those last
sharp.
two. Those last two works are really, like you said, Chris. You just look at the raw, not knowing. You actually watched it, so, and had comments back. So I think it was over this track, right? So that was a positive.
Yeah, it was like her maintenance drill. She was gliding over it, and she can run that fast. And like you said, she was one of these horses who was a good sprinter, and they tried to stretch her out. I think she's maybe better stretching out, and they can't decide whether they're going to run her long, going to run her short. But if you look back last year at her route races, she ran some really good route races, and if
grade 2 winner at the distance, right?
I'm noticing a pattern here in those route races. I've seen stumbled at the start 3 times. I don't love that.
No. I mean, I agree with that, but
stumble at the start seems like it's something that's rare. This horse.
Yeah, but we're talking about a horse stumbling at the start, not a favorite. We're talking about a 15 to 1 shot, right? And so.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But if she stumbles
at the start, but she was she stumbled at the start. That doesn't really affect her record.
Okay.
Right? Look at her record. Other than a sloppy race off 182 layoff, and what was the other race? This Breeders' Cup 7 furlong, which she had bad tactics and trouble. She hasn't finished worse than 3rd.
Yeah, and those sloppy track races, I forgive those. And then a couple other ones, she's lost to horses who kind of ran freaky good races, like Ways and Means freaked that day at Saratoga when she chased her. And Hope Road ran really big in that last race. And even like you said, the Gin Nitrogen race, they probably ran a little bit over their head.
Yeah.
She's no superstar, but I think at 15 or 20 to 1, she's got as good a chance to win as anybody in the race.
She's totally got the profile of a Breeders' Cup runner who did well, really well last year with all those wins. And then kind of this year, a lot of people aren't going to see those ones and forget about her. She certainly has the ability to surprise. So, I like that one.
So that's our.
I like two other prices in that race as well.
Okay.
The 6 I just have to use because it says plot. The plot is above, so that's enough for me. And they ran in this race last year. They ran 4th with the tactic.
It's like the same. She's coming up with the same kind of profile too. It looks like, right?
Exactly. But at least the thing is that they didn't feel like they were embarrassed enough that they're going to come back and do it again. So I'm willing to give it a try. And Kyle Frey was aboard that day. He had the tactic minus slog cover. This is his only mount on the card. So you have one job. Literally one job this whole day. Don't screw it up. But the plot being above plus on a big price is just like I'll trust the data. The other one that's
I just say she's a weird horse. If you watch some replays, she's has on some of the turf races, she runs off and sets like the pace 10 lengths ahead of the field sometimes. They do weird things with this horse. And the fact that she's in this race on the dirt seems kind of strange.
Well, she did the same thing last year.
But she had to run on it last year because she didn't draw into the turf race. That was her first preference. This time she could have run in the turf and chose this one. So it's kind of interesting.
So it's just too weird in a race that I have question marks. The other one that's maybe more interesting that we can have a little bit more form with is the 5, Scottish Lassie.
Yeah.
A horse that even going back to the debut showed run, projected to improve, broke their maiden B+. Ran in the Breeders' Cup Filly Mare, wide other layoff that followed, came back on the layoff, each race in that form cycle got faster, topped off the form cycle in the CCA Oaks with the B+. And one just following that pattern tends to improve with racing. So now the cotillion, maybe no excuse, but at least that race gets fitness in her. And now she's second off and should be sitting kind of on a peak effort and has those grade 1 and has figures that would fit well, and has that 9 furlong foundation.
And the parks can be an excuse. Just that track is kind of quirky, so you could just maybe forgive it since just the track.
I can only forgive what's in front of me, and it just says free plotty, so I can't forgive. But in terms of timing and the pattern, and then the pattern of progression in the past, she hasn't always run as fast first off. So that at least shows me, and she ran pretty fast. I mean, speed figure wise. So a step forward, she's going to be right there.
Yeah. All right. That one I like.
Okay.
Let's go. If
the other one doesn't run bad, blame the plot. Don't blame me.
I think we covered a lot of this on the international, but I just wanted to give the stats on the international stuff, right? We talked about that. So we have, they've won 31 races over the last 10 years. Euros have won 31, lost, and the U.S. have won 27. But I mean, when you think about impact value, I don't know what it is. I didn't calculate that. But impact value meaning they had far fewer starters than the U.S., obviously. So I mean, their impact is tremendous, and they've dominated. So when we talk about the turf, that's the mile and a half, the marathon, they've dominated. They've won 9 of the last 10 years. Which makes sense, right? Because every time when I handicap these turf races, those marathon ones, I look for ability to get the distance and class. And I really look less at the plot, less at any of the speed figures. Those are the things I really kind of focus on. And that's where they normally kind of thrive, right? Because we don't run that distance that often. The mile is split. It's like half 5 to 5 in terms of the mile, the turf, what I'm talking about. The juvenile turf guys have a big edge, the Euros, where the Fillies the U.S. have an edge, believe it or not. And then the turf sprint, that's just the turf one. It's not the juvenile one. The turf sprint, U.S. dominates. But Chris is right. It seems like in recent years, there's been more concerted effort to get more horses from Europe in, and they've done better in more recent years. But typically, still and you can see the way they run those races, though. Still, when I watch a lot of the turf sprints in Europe, it's like we gun out of the gate, and they don't. They just kind of like a lot of those races are woohoo, and so I think you unless there really is a speedball that rarely comes, but does come from Europe once in a while. I think what you're looking for is a horse that could maybe close and finish because they may be running against pace, profiles that are like slower early. And so maybe they get some speed and they can come off the pace. But in general, I think the U.S. Still has the edge in the turf sprints. But like you said, it's kind of starting to trend a little bit more even. So that's kind of like just the Euros. I mean, they're just going to be there, and I think we talked about ones we kind of like and dislike. So,
but can I add one thing, because one race we haven't really talked about is the Filly and Mare turf, and I think what you were saying is the farther they go, the more the Euros have an edge. I mean, that's all. That's my bias, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And this Filly and Mare race is weird because of the distance. At some tracks, you end up like at Santa Anita, they run 1.25 miles down the hill. It almost plays like 1.125 miles. But at Del Mar, they have to run 1.3 miles. So this race is a marathon, basically. And I think that's something that you want to really pay attention to, because a horse like She Feels Pretty looked like she barely got there at Woodbine. And I think the distance is going to be a big deal for her, especially drawing that extreme outside post in a race that starts right on the turn and you go around 3 turns. So and the best Euro drew post 14 in here, See the Fire. So to me, this race becomes really interesting because I think She Feels Pretty will take a lot of money, and she is very vulnerable at the distance. And I think some of the other horses from Europe are like Cinderella's Dream are not necessarily going to run their best at this distance. So
What about
This is
that
a real
Gazora?
Here's the horse.
Looks like-
That's a good point, Chris. By the way, I thought this horse was interesting here. Bedtime story. And one thing I noticed with these 14-day layoffs, I used to like, oh man, 14-day layoffs. But I don't know how many races Aidan O'Brien's won on this kind of move. Like, it wasn't like that. I always like, oh, this wasn't his first, choice, and he's just kind of, why not run this? These horses run. And to your point, this horse was bottled up. It was a race won by a good horse that was on the lead and won convincingly. It was a nice race. This horse galloped out a ton. This was a sneaky effort. And, the race before that, this horse, the field got really spaced out. It was kind of a weird race. It was on a soft course. Then she trailed the field, left too much to do. But talk about a horse that could be rolling late on this turf course, going this distance. Bedtime Story is a horse that you want to watch because she's got some dirtied up form. So she's a horse that you want to pay attention to your point.
Number 5, Gazora is the favorite. Are you guys against that horse?
No, I'm not against. I'm not against.
Yeah, she looks solid on here.
She's a favorite. That's the only reason but she was buried behind horses. And she was kind of, there was so much give on the track that day. It was raining during the race. She was in the arc against boys. And I just think she didn't handle it. 2 races before that, there's just no, she's really good. She's got a really good turn of foot. So I have no problem with her at all. She's legitimate. And if she's one of those things where she's in a range of 5-2, she's a good key to your exactas or whatever. Because I think once she gets I think she's going to get on this firm turf course, and I think she's going to be rolling too. So those are the horses I was interested in. This one, not so much. Okay. But yeah. So it's a good point, Chris.
John, American horse Stellify, she looks like she might be loose here. I know that it's a mile and 3/8, but
I just don't. I don't. When long turf races, I don't look at races that way. I just look more class. I look more turn of foot. But yeah, I guess
the 7 should go with her. No, just from the plot, and that horse just like, was it the work today or the gallop today? That horse just like ran off. I don't think they can rate the 7. Yeah. I really don't, especially not at this type of distance. That be her best. That horse is like, they couldn't even rate her today in the morning.
It's really difficult when you have, most of the, you get some closers and stuff, but it's still difficult to rate a race when 5 of the horses don't plot.
Yeah.
You could guesstimate, but turf races just run differently. If the pace is slow, the horses that are usually back are going to be closer. It's going to be more of like you watch the races, like this distance, usually the fields are more bunched, unless someone really tries to do so. And typically what I find is like when you see these grade 1 races those days, you rarely see a horse really try to like run the field off their field. That doesn't happen a lot. It just doesn't.
And if they ran, let's say that those horses that we can't plot are in this race, or like weren't in this race, sorry. And even, I'm just saying a what if, because I agree that She Feels Pretty is an underlay at 4-1 and has hurdles in terms of the distance. But in the post, but I'm about to make the case why that wouldn't matter. But it's like in this spot, she gets over and she sits right behind the 2 and 7. And like, that's it.
Right.
That post is overcome in that jump. Now we don't know if that is the case with some of those unknowns, but I'm more concerned with the distance change than, different dynamic, red keywords, things like that. But
so the horse I thought was kind of interesting in here is the 4-horse Village Voice. This is the kind of horse that Chad Brown could win with. It wasn't a top class horse in Europe, but it was a genuine stayer. It had run a 1.5 miles, 1 7/16 for his last 2 races. And I thought it had a pretty good comeback effort after a long layoff to get ready for this. I think it'll get the distance. It gets a good post, and it's got Pratt riding, so it'll probably get a good trip. I mean, I don't think it quite classes up with the Euros, but it could get a really good trip, and it'll get the distance. I don't, if Gazora runs the race, probably won't beat that one, but the rest of them, I don't see any reason why that horse couldn't finish ahead of them. So that's the one I'm kind of interested in at a big price.
They look like legitimate long shot. I mean, even just that 86 to 92, today is 97 to 103. This horse is like stepping up from like Camelback Mountain to Mount Everest.
Okay.
Right?
Well, she's only had one race in the U.S. I don't know how they come up with the numbers for Europe there.
No, I'm talking about that one race. I was
just
and if she had like a B plus, something like that would suggest like that she just like crushed that field, but like a B close in a grade 3 with a lower race par, it's kind of like ho hum. That was the day. That was the day for her.
Yeah, I just saw that as a prep, but yeah, you can look at it two different ways. She hadn't ran in a long time, and that was to get her ready for this race, and I think it did. But we'll see. I think she'll improve off that, but she'll be a big price in a race where I think the favorites are vulnerable. So
I agree with that. Okay, so let's talk about wagering, right? I mean, I was going to talk about workouts, but let me just talk about workouts quickly, because we were going to have Donald, who's a clocker, and he would have gave us good insight, but he got sick. How do you guys use? I know Emily does her own watching the races. Chris, what do you do? Like, how do you assess form? Workouts and stuff. You just kind of watch some of them, follow some of the news, or what do you do?
Yeah, now that they video the workouts, for these stakes races where they hardly ever race, I think they work out 7 or 8 times for every time they run. It's worth watching them. And a lot of times now in the big stables, they match them up with other horses, so you can kind of see who they're pairing them up with and how they finish off their workouts against that company. So I do that. I kind of that's something I never did 5 years ago because you couldn't. But I do that now not for like your everyday claiming race or anything, but for the stakes races where the horses run so seldom and they train up to the races. I do that.
Do you have any horses that you're watching that kind of surprised you or look really good in the morning?
Well, the two that I'll mention, one I already talked about, Scylla, who I thought that was really good. The other horse, I don't like the way this horse moves. He paddles, Brant, the horse in the juvenile for Baffert. But he's been training, and he's never gone a route of ground yet. He skipped the route stakes race, so he's going right for I think 7 furlongs to the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, but he's been training really well, and he's been finishing his workouts off really nicely. And he's a $3 million horse. He's trained by Bob Baffert, so he's not going to surprise anybody. But that Ted Noffey will be, maybe odds on in there, and he seemed like he'd be capable of winning. He's trained really well, I thought. So that was the one that stood out to me.
Brant is trained very well, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I saw the hoo-ha for like the paddling when horse won his debut, I think, or something like that. And I'm like, all right. Then I mentioned that Seattle Slew was a paddler, and like because everyone's saying how bad that is, and I'm like, whatever. It's by the way, Sierra Leone.
Right, paddle. Yeah, and plus Arabian Night, whatever the good Baffert horse had a couple of years ago, he did it. So I mean, doesn't mean they can't run. I'm just surprised they spend that much money on those horses. But $3 million for a horse that moves like that seems. But you knew he had to be faster. They wouldn't have spent the money, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So he's trained real well. He looked like the distance stretch out's not going to hurt him at all, because he's really been powerful finishing on those. And Baffert, he's not the kind that trains them really slow and has them finish up. They've run, they're when he finishes off or work, and that's a good workout, because it's been a testing pace going into the workout as well.
Emily,
that was
anybody?
the one jumped out.
Even a negative would be good.
I mean, the negative is just the coverage.
John?
Yeah. What do you got?
Yeah, it's and especially this week, everybody's looks amazing, right? Everybody looks amazing. Everybody's coat is shiny. Yeah, well, that's what they're supposed to be, right? So I'm saying I think that you need to look more at the the odd or negative behaviors. I think that's what matters this week, and not so much how great they all look. Because look, these guys yesterday couldn't even stop talking about sovereignty. I mean, I know it's not his fault that he spiked the fever, but things happen, right? So so don't get too worked up about how
Well,
great
with the workout, I remember they started those workout shows, and I think it was TVG was the first one to have the work show. And I never forget, it was 2001, and they were talking about Tisnow acting like a madman. I'm watching it, and he wouldn't work out. Like wouldn't work out. He was waiting, and he wouldn't work out. So they cut the coverage. What they never tells you that the horse did eventually work out, and he worked out 135 and change for a mile. And he won his second, the only horse in history to win the second Breeders' Cup. So there you go. I mean, sometimes it's tough. It's a tough game.
And then not a big deal, but when O'Brien brought out the parade today, Queen of Hawaii was in the back last. And she looked a little bothered. And I know that that's also one that I put up there as a long shot. So I would just say keep an eye on her as the week goes by. You'll be able to see them tomorrow, all the O'Brien horses tomorrow in the gate, and then on Thursday in the paddock.
All right.
Who did he have in front? He usually puts them in like alpha order.
Yeah, he puts the males in front. I don't know which one was in front this time, though. It wasn't Mini Hawk.
I would say with workouts, just real quick before we move on or finish up, is kind of to both those points, is that you want to look for any type of it's not always a one size fits all, but any type of changes. And the other thing is, like, sometimes the things you aren't necessarily thinking you're supposed to look at. So I remember last year when I was watching kind of the works in the mornings and stuff, and for the classic. And the two horse, like both Sierra Leone and Fierceness, looked just stood out amongst the other classic runners in there, and they both ran really well. And I wasn't necessarily like looking for that necessarily, but just kind of that eye test. Should we talk about the classic? We didn't even talk about it.
We could talk about it at the end, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's it. Any big changes, and if you're not, used to doing it, maybe it's something that's more like periphery for you.
Yeah, and the one thing I say on the young horses, I like to look at what equipment they have on them, and for me, the less they have, the better. So like they got all this stuff on them, shadow rolls and blinkers and
rubber feet,
just all kinds of gear on their head. I don't like that. I like it when they just have nothing but a bridle. That's always appealing to me on the young. That's the young horses. Just something I'll throw out.
Okay, so how are we going to bet this Breeders' Cup turf, Chris? We like Goliath and Amalok. I think it's the way.
Yeah. So
how are we going to play it? Okay,
so thing I would tell people on the Breeders' Cup. There's so many races. All these specialty bets and stuff. The biggest mistake, I think that's one of the questions you had in there was, what's the biggest mistake people make about betting at the Breeders' Cup? And I think it's they try to bet everything, right? Every pool in every race. And that's just a recipe for disaster. So I think, you should try to be selective and go with your strongest opinions and bet those, and kind of stay away from all those special pools, especially the horizontal pools, just because unless you really have a good opinion in 4 or 5 or 6 consecutive races, it's really hard to hit those, especially in these fields where they're deep and large. So, to me in general, try to stick with your best opinions, be willing to pass races, and, maybe stick with the simpler bets, not go with the really complex ones, especially the complex picks. So that I just throw that out. So
yeah,
for example,
a day like today where you could get like double-digit odds on a horse on a simple win bet,
right? And you could cash a few few hundred to one exactas and, you know,
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly.
You don't have to go for the super to get 100 to one, you know, on your money. So yeah, that's my biggest, that's the strongest advice and the biggest mistake I think people make is just trying to go for everything and also trying to go for the, you know, the really tough things to hit even on a normal day. And on this day, it's even tougher. So for example, you know, if you like two horses in this race, like Goliath and Amalok, who are both prices could float up above that if they really hammer the Rebels Romance and Mini Hawk, which they might. So to me, you just start with win bets and exacta. You know, that's kind of where you would start in here. So for me, it kind of depends on the price, but they're both playable. I would probably only bet one of them to win, and then you box the exacta. That would be a simple way to start. And then that would be where most of my money would go. But then you might look at, all right, are there other you know, adjacent races where you could combine it with a double if there's someone you really like in the prior race or the succeeding race. I think the prior race was the Filly and Mare
Distaff.
race that we talked about, and we said, you know, like a horse like Scylla
Yeah.
or Scottish Lassie, I think was one that was mentioned. You know,
Yeah.
those horses will be prices. Then you could play a double. You don't have to pay a lot into it, but that's probably a double that'll be paying 100 to 1, you know,
Oh, easy. Yeah.
or more.
Yeah.
And you don't, and you know, you don't have to come up with 5 winners in a row or anything to get that. So that's kind of the way
Good advice. Yeah.
I would look at it. There's a lot of other ways you could play it, but to me, you find that horse you like, and especially if you can find a race where you really want to fade a strong favorite, like I'm going to fade Mini Hawk. So maybe if you wanted to play some other exactas, you could, and you thought Rebels Romance was the horse to beat, maybe you play a couple of exactas underneath him, maybe even try a trifecta with those 3. But you're fading Mini Hawk, who's likely the favorite. You don't want to just play the trifecta because you can. You got to have a reason, another opinion that makes it worth doing that. And usually, for me to get into the trifecta or superfecta, I've got to want to fade the favorite, right? That's usually, or I think the favorite's really strong and I want to put it on top, and I have some long shots I think could outrun their odds that I'll play underneath. That's probably, but other than that, I usually would stay away from those bets. So anyway, I mean, there's a million ways you can play, but my advice is try to keep it simple, focus in on where you have your strongest opinions, and then sort of start with the win bet and then build out from there. And you don't have to build out very far to get, you know, some pretty juicy returns on your investment. You know, exactas and doubles can really pay in these big fields.
Oh, so you mentioned the double. We went one way, right? So let's go the other way on your
All
Breeders'
right.
Cup Turf race, and let's go to the Classic.
The Classic. There you go. You
Let's
go
just do
right
that.
into the Classic.
And could we just for ha-has scratch Sovereignty?
Yeah.
Just yeah. Okay.
Let's just assume.
Hide from plot. Yeah.
I would be against him if they do run him because, you know, if Fever's, even if it goes away, that's some kind of stress that led to that and not a good sign. So I would fade him.
He was kind of worth fading anyways.
Right. I agree. And now,
yeah,
unfortunately, now if he runs, his price will probably go up a little, but still he'll take money. And so I would fade him if he runs, but I have a feeling we won't see him. Unfortunately, that's too bad.
Okay. So we look at, has anyone looked at this race yet?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
okay. Is anyone tossable?
The rabbit.
The 4?
Yeah.
Who's the yeah?
Well, I'll say one thing. You asked about negative works. I thought Nevada Beach's works were bad. Not that he was a big favorite or anything, but you know, I didn't think
like compared to his works prior
before his last race. Yeah, he was out working. Who's that horse in the mile that Baffert's got? Goal oriented, and before his last race where he won, but he was getting outworked by Privman before this race, and he just didn't look very good. So, to me, you know, he's probably one that's going to regress off that last race. Not that you're going to get much by fading him, but I just throw that out. He was one horse I noticed I didn't like at all in his workout.
Deep Closer by Asa.
Okay. So we got the 2, 3, and 4. We're kind of
I wouldn't throw out Baeza. I'm a Baeza fan. I think he's got a race in him that could win. I'm not saying he will win, but he may get completely overlooked in here, and I don't think he's without a chance. So I
This
think
is
he has
why
upset.
you see, this is exactly why they need to have some kind of head-to-head framework betting for the Breeders' Cup. Like it would, to me, it's a lot, you know.
Well,
this
they
is like
do.
a
Just
perfect
go to
venue for it.
Vegas. They have it in Vegas.
No, I know, but you know what I mean, a more available and more promoted than what's
So what
going on.
about journalism with the new jockey? What are we thinking? I mean, he seems to plot great, and he's always running a race. Is maybe a little more freshened up. Maybe it helps.
He's definitely less likely to have a troubled trip now.
To see the thing, I don't know if anyone's watching him train. The thing with the 3-year-olds, we don't know if they're still developing. You know, they're growing or put weight on. You know, that's the other thing. Racing's crazy. You know, there should be weight for all these horses.
Well, there's
Yeah.
no doubt. If you looked at Sovereignty now, that horse has put on weight. I couldn't believe how big his hind end is now
And
compared
his
to what it
legs.
was. Yeah, he's
His legs
really.
are
He's a
thick.
nice horse. He's a nice
Yeah.
horse. Yeah.
Where journalism, I
about
do
that.
think, was kind of one of these. He was a little ahead of everybody in the spring, but he really hasn't progressed much. Doesn't mean he couldn't move forward in here, but there's nothing that tells me he's all of a sudden going to now move forward. So I, for me, I'd much rather play Baeza over journalism, especially at a better price.
Okay.
But I like Forever Young a lot in here. So I think he's the play in here.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't worry about the distance with him?
No. I mean, he would have
Just
won the Kentucky Derby. He was the best horse in there. You know, he was capable of getting 1.25 miles as a 3-year-old in May.
I don't know. Just something about him, like this. It's just
Well, that
missed
race.
10
I'm
furlongs.
with you, John. There's something about him. There's something about him that like he looks. Yeah, that he's just like he runs a good second or third.
Yeah.
That Saudi Cup he ran.
That was a
race-
dynamite race.
That race was
Dynamite race.
incredible. That
was
he and
dynamite
Romantic
race.
Warrior just.
I'm
threw
just
it
worried.
down.
I'm worried. I'm actually worried that race took something out of him.
It did. It did. You could
Yeah.
tell that. That's why he didn't run so well in the Dubai World Cup. But they gave him the time off. I thought he looked really good in his prep for this. So I
Yeah, it
think
was
he's
like
sitting on a good race.
I don't know who he's running against there.
Nine furlongs too. To John's point,
Yeah.
one less furlong.
Yeah, it just seems like that's what I'm thinking. He's like, I'm not sure he's a 10 furlong horse. Hasn't got it done at 10 furlongs in 3 races, like third at 10 furlongs. Oh, he won once, I guess. At the Oi track. What's his morning line? Yeah, he's too short for me.
I don't think he's going to be that short. I mean,
Wait,
if
wait,
Sovereignty's
wait,
practice.
No,
Yeah.
he's going to be that short, especially with Sovereignty out. Yeah.
Well, with Sovereignty out. But I mean, I don't think journalism was going to be a 10-1 and Forever Young is going to be 6-1. That doesn't make sense. Journalism always takes money. I don't see how he could be 10-1.
Yeah.
How he could be a longer price than Forever Young. But with Sovereignty out, everybody's price is going to come way down, right?
Yeah, it's that. I don't know. I don't have a real strong.
Yeah, this race is not great. I'm trying to choose my words here.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, well,
We're not going to bet the double on this one, Chris. Okay.
I will. I'll be playing.
well, I mean, you could.
Baeza.
Yeah. You
I mean,
like Baeza.
Yeah.
Well, at that point, you could look at the doubles, and then you can basically, see where an overlay is. But like, yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't think journalism was ever going to be 10-1, but you'd make the case for him. He's playable at that. Can we make a case for? I don't like any of these. Any of the 3. Todd Pletcher has 3. I mean, Fierceness is going to be too short. The race is probably not their ideal setup. And again, last year he made a very positive pre-race appearance at that time. I haven't had a chance to see him since, but what about the other 2?
Yeah, why not? I mean, I think Sierra Leone is a horse that I want to always play against. I mean, he got the perfect setup last year.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just like, he's always like, unless he does, I mean, he just seems to find like a way to lose. And he's going to be, right? He'll be the favorite, won't you think? If Sovereignty is out.
Fierceness will be the favorite. I think.
Fierceness, yeah.
Yeah. But I don't think
Another horse
be,
I'm not thrilled about, you know?
Yeah, and 8-1 didn't seem like it was too high on the morning line for Sierra Leone.
I like Emily's thought. I mean, I know it sounds crazy. It's like, you know, you start saying, okay, you know, who does Pletcher have? And, you know, he's got two others. Kind of, look, I always was told, Mike Mitchell told me this. He goes, when a trainer does have other horses, right? I mean, maybe with the exception of contrary thinking here, but they could win. You know, they really believe that they can win the race. They're not in there for just the sake of being.
Well, I mean, they're kind of interesting horses, right? Because they come out of that same race, which was like such a debacle, right? And so it's like almost like Antiquarian, who won the race, is going to be downgraded. But like, should he be like should he be downgraded? I mean, this horse has kind of been, I don't know.
Great year.
What's that?
Great 4-year-old campaign.
And it's light too, so there's still room to like, you know, to move forward, I think. You know?
Yeah, he's always showed talent.
Yeah.
It does seem like he might be a notch below some of these, but I mean, if he got the right trip, you know, Mindframe seems like he's a huge talent, but I just don't see him being prepared to go 1.25 miles, right? You know, his campaign this year hasn't really got him ready for that. Especially with what happened in that last race, where he didn't really get much out of it. You got to wonder about, you know, is he ready to go 1.25 miles?
He's not in the right frame of mind.
But he's certainly got talent. You know, he's never run a bad race. Yeah,
you get A- you got talent.
He's not really run a fast race either.
No, not a real fast one yet. I agree. So, you know, to me, I would rather.
The 106 as an early 3-year-old is pretty fast.
Yeah.
But it was a 7 furlong debut, maiden special thing.
And I haven't. Unfortunately, they didn't video any of those workouts at Saratoga after the meet closed, so I couldn't watch Sovereignty and Mindframe, Journalism, Antiquarian. I didn't get to see any of those workouts, but I know that a lot of times, you know, Mindframe and Fierceness look good, so I don't know if it would have told you much anyway, because they usually look good in the workouts. It's unless they look bad, probably wouldn't tell you much.
Yeah, maybe that 10 could sit right off the first. You know, the speeds.
Yeah, it's interesting. How's this race going to go? Right, you know that they're not going to try to hook up with contrary thinking.
Right.
So you would think Fierceness and Mindframe would just kind of be stalking him, and I don't know what they'll do. Probably, I don't know, you know, who they'll want to have in front of who. But it's kind of like what they do with those two horses will kind of dictate what happens in the race. You figure it's going to be an honest pace, but they're not going to do anything stupid. You wouldn't think, even with I don't know if the Rabbit's going to have, you know.
Yeah, does he really have an impact?
Even if you look at the plot and where the Rabbit is, it's not like he's like has any first call real advantage.
He's not really that fast. As
yeah, he's not a fast Rabbit. Like
they may just sacrifice him. Like he hasn't been sacrificed before, so maybe he's just, you know.
Well, they did that last time, but it took him a while to lead. He had to really work hard just to get to the lead in that.
But I mean, then Fierceness should get the best trip, because then he'll just save ground right behind him, and then they just.
Probably, right? Yeah. It depends, you know, or Mindframe could too. It depends on who. The thing is, Johnny V doesn't like to be on the rail. He kind of got stuck on the rail last time.
He does
but that's not his.
But what I'm saying is, if the 4 goes, he's right there. That he doesn't have to be on the rail at that point.
Yeah, he'll probably get off the rail.
He can move 2 paths off the rail and just be sitting kind of like free, no cover behind that horse, or even pushing him, because he doesn't look like he's that fast. He can push that pace from the outside. Yeah,
it seemed like they could go whenever they wanted to. But it seemed like Mindframe could go for the same trip. They're both could. I just don't know what they're going to do. But they seem like they'll be able to dictate what happens right between those two.
Squeeze
one-
them. One from
one
the
of them will
outside,
go
one from
first.
the inside.
The thing with this rabbit, if he does do what he's supposed to, I think that's the negative for Sierra Leone because it just spreads the field out. It's always difficult for closers to win those races, don't you think? When they get so far behind that they got to make some kind of middle move and they get exhausted. Unless the race, and this is very rare when a grade 1 race completely falls. It's not like a maiden claiming race or one of these low level races.
Yeah.
So it's like when that field gets spread, it's like I think that's like a negative.
And I'm not even
those
sure it'll
horses.
be that spread. It's just, it's going to be like they're going to ride him just like a rabbit in a turf race. They're going to act like he's not in the race, right? So I don't know if he's going to have much impact at all. They're
Well,
just
but
gonna
unless-
race.
unless he's right-
I don't think
unless he's-
contrary thinking is fast enough to clear.
So
It
if
just
that's the
doesn't look
case,
fast enough to clear.
it just depends
that would
on
be
who-
pretty bad if you can't even clear it.
Yeah, I mean, again, it all
I mean,
depends
this is unbiased information, so it's saying that like he's not, he can't,
He's not a good rabbit, is what we're saying. He's not going to be very
he's
good
just not
at
as
his job.
fast. He's not as fast as people
I
think
it
he
just
is.
looks like these three look pretty good.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, that they seem like they're going to be able to dictate things, and they're all Pletcher's horses, all three
Yeah.
of them.
Well, and
So
the
they
thing,
seem-
I mean, the only thing that could be like a hurdle to that is just what that speed rate is. With all those.
Yeah,
But, but on standard, it's not as
yeah. I was going to say it seems awful low.
Well,
on
they
the
have to have a
surface.
strategy too, don't you think? At least they're
Yeah, they're going to have a plan, and they're going to be able to, run some traffic for anybody trying to come from behind for sure. So
Is it Velasquez and the two Ortiz, or what is that?
Velasquez on the one,
Right, Velasquez.
and then Ortiz and
Shit, I can't see crap.
and
Ortiz,
Saez.
Arad on Mind
Oh, the
Frame,
other.
Jose on Journalist. Oh no, wait.
And Louis.
Saez is on the 10. Sorry.
Oh yeah.
interesting. All right, let's wrap. We gave a lot of mush to us on that last race, but that's okay. It's a mush race. So let's go around the room once. And by the way, we're going to have Focus. So you guys, if you want to buy Focus, you just get the notes. You buy just the notes, the silver package, or you just go to our website. Let me just a little commercial here, and you go to the homepage, and you're just gonna see what you get. Breeders' Cup Special, $50 both days. A lot of good information. You'll be able to see us Focus. So team here will be doing analysis and odds, our fair odds for the race. Okay, so good set of information to use, supplement what we talked about here. Let's go quickly around. Let's talk about one horse you're keying around. I think I know this for most people. And then one Optics insight that matters the most this weekend. So I'll start with Emily.
Oh no, I'm not prepared. Start with somebody
Okay,
else.
I'll start with Ron.
Oh great. I'm prepared. If I was
Who are you keying around? Who you
keying,
keying?
if I did keying, I'll tell you, I might do Formidable Man in the mile.
Okay, Formula Man in the mile.
Because I really don't see that the Euros are that strong. I know Notable Speech, he's okay, but I don't think there's anything to be afraid of, and that's about as home field advantage as you get with that Formidable Man.
What about you, Chris?
well,
wait, I
race we
didn't
talked-
wait. One Optics insight that matters most this weekend, Ron.
That's a good question. I'll come back. Just come back to that one. I'm sorry,
Okay.
I didn't really,
What about you, Chris?
All right, well, I already talked about, the Goliath Amalok race, so that
Yep,
would be
yeah,
a race
that's
I keep.
good. Yep. Yeah.
But I'll give you two Optics things. One is just Optics notes, especially with the keywords. That's worth the price of admission right there. And having those for all these foreign horses is a huge advantage for the players. So to me, that's number one. And the number two is, we haven't really talked about this, but the ability, the rating of the horses, using the rating to help come up with an odds line, or using our ratings that you'll get, in Focus, and then tweaking them based on your own opinion. What that does is it gives you a sense of, what sort of prices are or make a horse playable. And your intuition for that isn't going to be very good in these races, because you normally don't handicap races with 12 or 14 horses that are deep. And so what you think is a good price may not be as good as you think. And by going through the discipline of rating the horses and looking at that fair odds line, you can get a better sense for what is value and what isn't value. So to me, that can be really helpful in trying to figure out what races you should be passing up and what races where you really have found something that might be worth betting. Is that you're using the ratings. You can build off of the focus ratings, but you can tweak them based on your opinion. If you think one horse is better or worse than they were rated, by the analyst, you can make that tweak. But at the end, you can look and see, okay, where is their value? Or is there any value at all in this race? Because there's no law that says you have to bet on every race. So keep that in mind.
Excellent. Coming back to you, Emily. What's your key here?
Yeah, I think that actually, it's really the races that we've talked about. I think that those races offer vulnerable to weak favorites with opportunities. And that was starting in race 6 with the sprint, into race 7. And again, you can do rolling doubles, you can do pick 3, you can definitely do win bets. Race 7 is the Distaff, which we have some opinions on prices in there. And then race 8, we talked about as well, with a couple key horses at solid prices. So I think that sequence is good. Okay, the Optics Advantage. This is the biggest one. I know doing the rating and all that, but when you have all the information and you have what the horse's actual odds are, you have all the information in front of you, you have the odds, you've been able to look at the horses, etc. Now you have the optics information, so you can look at the horse that is actually favored and quickly say, does this horse have a pace advantage? Yes or no? Does this horse have a speed advantage? Does this horse have a class advantage? Does this horse have a form advantage? Are there red keywords, plot? And if you look at that favorite, any of those things are a no, then you dig. Then you can start playing that race, and you can do it quickly as soon as you have that board. I don't know what race this is. Oh, race. No,
I'm just clicking and showing what you're talking about. What I'm trying to click is the what you're talking about, the labels. Who's speed advantage, plot advantage, class. You can see what horses above and below.
You can use that, but again, there's other places that are light up for you, right? You can look at this race. If you know nothing, no matter what horse is favored in there, they probably don't have a pace advantage, because there's no pace advantage or disadvantage, right?
Yes.
Speed wise, speed figure wise, this is a race where you can look at the odds, you can look at the board, you can look at the information, and you can play those factors. Real quick, especially if you've done a little bit of looking at the race ahead of time, and you stay flexible, you can let those other pieces of information fill in the gaps, and you'll find gems.
Excellent.
John, find a weak favorite, then fade it. Right? Don't be afraid to fade it.
Yeah. No.
Right. But you have to have those tools to assess what that weak favorite is.
Right.
Yes, you do.
And be confident in your assessment once you've made that. Stick with it. Don't bet defensively. You fade the favorite if you don't like it.
All right, so that's good. Again, Ron, you had something?
On the optics and I think the grid is great, because you can see, I think that shows you a lot of the class differences. Look, everybody's high class to some extent. I think that this shows you here, and especially when you just sort on their wins and what conditions they won on there, and how strong was the race or the field. If you can just do the equal ones above the finish, or even if you greater than or less than 3 or whatever. But I think this gives you a good idea of, the conditions they perform well under, and what they're, kind of a little bit more detail into class. And I think that's important.
Yeah, I think the biggest advantage, I mean, there's obviously the pace view and all the other things, but I think the notes done the way it is done, it's a system. It's not just notes, right? These keywords mean something. We analyze these keywords. We color code which ones kind of lend itself to better or worse performances. There's a lot that goes into it. I always kind of look at it. I'm old school, kind of think of it as almost like Cliff Notes, where we're not just about describing a race. We're talking about interpreting the race in terms of the horse's form cycle. So you can go through this and get a sense of where is this horse in his form cycle? Are there some idiosyncrasies that just pop out? And that's really, I don't think there's not another product out on the market that does that. And the fact that we did this with the Euro runners is, again, an example of something that's above and beyond anything.
And the South American runners, not just
and the
the
South American runners.
That's
Yeah,
right.
we go everywhere. Japan.
That's
Optix
right. Asian.
travels the globe.
Mars.
So thank you for spending some time with us. We appreciate. Thank you to the team for participating. It's been great. Good luck at the Breeders' Cup, and I hope you win. So I know you got a chance with Optix at least. All right, everyone.
Yeah,
Thank
you've got a fighting chance.
Hey, Peter, will you wrap? Is Peter still there? I'll end the recording.